All right, welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a really fundamental shift in how we think about artificial intelligence. For a long time, AI has been seen as this thing that only data scientists and hardcore programmers could touch. But what we're learning is that the true power of AI, its real value, is only unlocked when it gets into the hands of everyone, especially the subject matter experts who are on the front lines of a business every single day.
And look, this isn't just a nice idea, it's a critical business strategy. Research from back in 2019 by Bukin and his colleagues actually proved this. They found that the value you get from AI grows exponentially when it's used by more than just the tech teams. The idea is simple. When the people with the deep, on-the-ground knowledge, the accountants, the financial analysts, can directly use AI for their own challenges, the solutions they build are just so much more relevant and effective. So that leads us to the central question for today. If the key to unlocking all this value is getting AI into the hands of non-technical people, we've got a bit of a paradox, right? How can someone who doesn't know how to program build a sophisticated AI model? Well, the solution lies in a really important technological development that we're going to explore right now.
And the answer is the emergence of no-code platforms. This whole movement is fundamentally about democratizing artificial intelligence. It's about systematically tearing down the walls that have kept people out, moving AI from being this exclusive club for engineers and putting it right into the toolkit of any business professional. So let's be really clear about what we mean by this. A no-code AI platform is basically a system that puts a friendly visual layer on top of all the complex code. Instead of writing lines of Python, users get to work with a graphical interface, literally dragging and dropping different components to build a workflow. This means you can design, train, and launch a machine learning model without ever touching a single line of code. It completely removes programming as a barrier to entry. And to make this a little more concrete, think about some of the tools that are out there right now. Platforms like MonkeyLearn, Levity, and Polymer. These are all great examples of no-code AI systems built for specific fields, like finance. They give finance teams the power to tackle their own unique problems, things like fraud detection or financial forecasting, all without needing a programmer. Okay, so now let's talk about the practical side of this. What happens when you put these tools into the real world? The key concept here is empowerment. You're empowering the subject matter expert, the person who truly understands the business, the data, and the problems that actually need solving. This table gives you a pretty clear picture of what that looks like. Think about an accountant. A no-code tool can automate document processing, which has always been a super manual, tedious task. Or for a financial analyst, these platforms can plug right into their spreadsheets and generate incredible predictive insights. And for the whole finance team, you can suddenly do sophisticated analysis on unstructured text, like digging through financial reports. In every single case, you're creating direct, measurable business value. The actual workflow is usually a pretty straightforward four-step process. First, you pick a task you want to automate. Second, you feed the system your business data. The third step is the most important one, training the model. This is where the magic happens. The user provides labeled examples, basically teaching the algorithm what to look for, so it learns to recognize patterns. Then, once it's trained, the final step is to deploy it as a working solution. It becomes a complete cycle of innovation led by the user. But, and this is a big but, giving people this much power also comes with an equal amount of responsibility. The democratization of AI isn't just about technology, it's fundamentally about governance. We have to look at the risks that come with this and the rules we need to put in place to manage them. There are really two sides to this coin. And this slide really lays out that tension perfectly. On one hand, you have this amazing promise of accelerated growth and rapid innovation led by the users themselves. But on the other hand, you have the absolute necessity of structured governance. You can't have one without the other. And this gets really tricky when anybody in an organization can build these tools because it spreads the risk out away from a central IT department, making it much harder to keep an eye on everything. So any good governance framework for democratized AI has to cover three essential pillars. First, model reliability. Is the AI accurate? Is it consistent? Can we trust its output? Second, ethical use. We need to set clear principles to make sure these tools are used fairly and transparently. And third, regulatory compliance. We have to make sure every AI application follows all the relevant laws and industry standards. These aren't just afterthoughts. They are absolutely foundational to doing this responsibly. And that really brings us to the core thesis here. If you want to get that massive, scalable value out of AI that we talked about at the beginning, the idea of empowerment has to be tied directly to the idea of accountability. They are two sides of the same coin.
That balance is the single most important takeaway for any organization looking to make AI accessible to everyone. Which leaves us with one final big question to think about as this technology becomes more and more common. When anyone with a business problem and some data can build an AI model, who is ultimately responsible for what it builds? That's the challenge that we're all going to have to figure out together.